Let us dream, let us fly.
I love ASC so much that I went from a participant to a volunteer to a staff member. So I got my spinal cord injury in August of 2020 when I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a condition that makes it so I pass out, and one of those times that I passed out, I was standing on a bar stool watering my plants, and then it happened. So I sustained a C1, C2 incomplete spinal cord injury. I went from being someone who ballroom danced every single day to being completely bedbound. I had to drop out of school, and I felt like I had no purpose in life. I went through a mourning process of what I thought my life would never be like again. It was one of the darkest times of my life. I had zero independence and I had zero privacy. And then I had a Zoom call with Sarah and Carol Brubaker, and they told me about Adaptive Sports Connection. At that point, my only human interactions were with my caregiver and my parents. And so the thought of getting to not only participate in sports, but also be able to be around with other people just like me sounded really liberating. So I decided to take the leap and to move to Ohio, and it was the best decision I've ever made. At this point, so the Brubakers, they first convinced me to try kayaking. But I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to sit up long enough to be out on the water. At this point, I couldn't sit up for more than 15 minutes at a time, and I also couldn't do transfers. But they still convinced me to do it anyway. And so it took two people to lift me into the kayak, and as soon as I was in the kayak, they put foam all over in order to prop me up so that I didn't have to have any core to be able to sit upright. As soon as I got over my fear of being out on the water, a stillness rushed over me. It was the first time I had felt hope in a long time. Let's see if my quad hands will cooperate. Okay. My world had become so dark up until that point, but as the sun shone through the trees and it shined on me, it also lit up my spirits, and it helped me to imagine what another world could be like. Next, I tried cycling, and when I started cycling, I had the biggest smile on my face. I was able to get from point A to point B all by myself, and it was the first time I was able to do something completely on my own since August of 2020. It was this sense of independence I had been craving. Every time I was at Glacier Ridge, I had my watch tracking my distance and my speed. Whenever I would go, I was always there to beat my last personal record. My mental well-being increased substantially over the course of the months. I didn't realize how much pent-up anger I had surrounding my situation. Working out has always been a way to kind of calm me, and adaptive sports gave me the ability to work out in a way that was tailored and modified to me. It wasn't just the physical release that brought me peace, it was also the connections that I made. I was able to meet people like Will and like Amanda, I don't know where she is, and Alicia, and so many other people. I also met the head of the Spinal Cord Injury Support Group, Peter Knoll, which got me into all these different connections. So it was this really great just ability to get to know people who were similar to me. But I would have never made these connections had I not moved to Ohio and joined ASC. So when I started cycling, I was out there twice a week, and I was also kayaking once a week. And I was seeing improvements very quickly. Every week, my ability to sit up increased by about 5 to 10 minutes. My posture was better, my independence at home had increased. I was making huge strides in physical and in occupational therapy, partly because I was so motivated to get better because I wanted to beat my personal records. And I also went from not being able to transfer myself to then being able to transfer with the transfer board. And then slowly but surely, I moved from not needing a transfer board to now I'm able to get in and out of bikes, kayaks, and cars completely independently without needing a transfer board. I would have never thought that I would have gained back enough core strength to be able to do that. I'm lucky due to the nature of my injury with it being incomplete, and I'm grateful for the role that Adaptive Sports Connection has played. It's crazy to think that this time last year, I wasn't able to sit up and I couldn't do transfers. Bear with me. So I wouldn't have the core strength if it weren't for adaptive sports to be able to balance like this, especially mostly on one leg. But I also wanted to mention that I'm especially excited about our initiative to build this building, because it will allow us to expand our program and to increase the amount of people that we're able to reach. A bike track on the inside would allow us to fit more kids for bikes and be able to get more funding, as well as we wouldn't be so reliant on the weather. And then also we're going to have a gathering area for meetings like spinal cord injury support group meetings and other support groups. So it will also create an area for connection, which will be really nice. And I can just expect people going back after kayaking and hanging out, which would be so nice. And then we're also planning on having transportation, which is going to be huge because I know a number of people personally who do not attend some ASC events because they don't have a way to get there. And so if we are able to supply transportation, then we'll be able to grow our programs. And if more people are given the opportunity to access adaptive sports, then we'll have even more success stories to celebrate. Thank you.